student received it. I can't guarantee it, but it was sent out through the process that the university has to send that out to every student.
Gotcha.
Yes,
All right,
in
well,
the same way that the election information has been in the past.
all right. Well, just speaking on my behalf, I mean, I've had several Kent School students that contacted me as well, and I always send them directly to the Dean of Students' office because that's where the election, that way it's outside of our jurisdiction. In my opinion, personal opinion, it's clear that there was an alternative way for these students to vote. If they did not vote in that form or fashion, they always, as many things have stated, they could always go to the Dean of Students' office and check with him. They could be inquisitive about their own voters' rights. If they were not inquisitive about their voters' rights and did not go and submit a paper ballot in secrecy or submit a web ballot, then they were too apathetic to vote. Now, I had people that came up to me and I sent them there from Kent School. For instance, Deandra Halcombe was one of them that I wrote down during the election because she came up to me and asked where she could go vote. And I said, go to the Dean of Students' office and he will somehow figure out what we can do to take care of this situation. Now, those are the kind of students that they still submitted their vote. I personally, I'm for the fairness of all students, but to go into another runoff election, this is the second time for me to have to rally my base. This is also more money out of my pocket. Hundreds of dollars are spent on these elections, and this is going to give such an unfair advantage in the future for Travis, who has not had to already go out and rally his base a second time, has not had to spend money on things. And, you know, I'm not even the one that's up in the air right here. You know, I was ahead by 200 votes from the second place candidate. So, I'm just speaking as a candidate that is for students' rights, that would love to see these students vote, but letting you all know that they actually did have an opportunity to vote. Whether it was constitutional or not, they had that opportunity. And this should be something we should fix in the future, but let's not make a mess tonight.
I personally resent this statement, whether it was constitutional or not. Just me as an individual, that's constitutional.
Point of clarification, according to the SGA election rules, that campaigning with SGA functions is not allowed, and your statement's really bordered on campaigning, to me.
And just to notify everyone, this is being recorded today.
Directly related to this.
I would like to, just so everybody knows, this is being recorded today. SGA is not recording it, so I'm personally recording this today.
This is, I mean, this is blatantly just something to get an attack or something on me.
Okay, here we go. Okay, if you have a point of inquiry, address it now, and then we're moving on.
If he accepts it, if he doesn't accept it, that's okay.
Then address
Just
it.
not going to accept.
Okay, that's
This
fine.
is just outrageous.
Okay, Sana, it's you now. You pass. Emily, it's you. I know it was a while ago.
I just under the impression that Kent School did have the opportunity to vote. Is that correct? They had the opportunity to vote.
Did not have a constitutional means of voting.
They had a way to vote.
But per Dr.
Hold
Marshall's
on.
own
My
word, they did not have a
question
constitutional
is, did they have an opportunity to vote?
Who are you addressing so no one else answers you?
Point of order, you may only address the speaker while speaking under Robert's rules.
Can I,
Address me then.
Dean Martis, may I address you? Did Kent School undergrad students have the opportunity to vote?
Well, I kind of said it before. The email was sent out to all students, so if a student couldn't vote,
Okay.
because Kent School students, if they went in to vote through the normal balloting process through ULink, it would kick them out
Okay.
because they weren't loaded into the program. So if they tried to go through that way, they wouldn't have been able to vote. If they got that email or if they communicated with someone who had that information and knew that that alternative option to email it in to the Student Affairs Service account was available, they could submit that, and students did.
Okay. And students did.
Yes.
Thanks. Preston, you were next.
Sure, and I'm sorry for getting frustrated a second ago. And the reason I asked my question to Dean Martis, Dr. Martis, was that it says in bylaw 607.1, voting shall be the imperative shall be secret and conducted in privacy. 602.1F says, I can find it. Sad that I memorized this. Provide for, let's see, that's not that. 402.1F says that it's the imperative. What I hate to give you guys a grammar lesson here, but shall is an imperative. It means you must. You don't have. There's no choice. The court would have to send out an opinion or justify why voting while 607.1 should be, I guess, set aside. But
If you're not Preston, you don't have the floor. Please stop talking. Continue.
It's the Constitution. I mean, like I said earlier, either we have rules or we don't. So if we're going to decide we don't have rules, then we should just all leave because there's no point in us sitting here or wasting our time. You know, and I appreciate Curtis's point. I think part of it is really well taken. You know, elections suck and they cost a lot of money and they cost a lot of time and they're annoying as hell and they get everybody up in arms. But you know, like, and I don't blame Curtis for being upset. If we had won, if Travis had won or had John won, we'd probably see the same speech from somebody else. You know, I get it that Curtis has everything to lose from this bill being passed. You know, he doesn't want to have to run another election. He thinks we already won and he can win the one-off, and that's fine. Put politics aside. What are we going to do? Are we going to rectify these unjust actions today, or are we just going to sit by and let the status quo continue? I think Corey's right. I don't like where we are, but we have to do something. We can't not do anything. So we have a lot of choices, right? We can amend. We can decide what the language should be. We're talking right now, just to give everybody a wider framework here, about the fact that the court didn't do their job, not whether or not the three candidates in the runoff. We already moved or divided that away from it. So right now we're just simply talking about whether or not we should agree that the court didn't do its job. According to Tim Brock, who's Chief Justice Emeritus and Associate Professor of Mathematics at Manchester, former Supreme Court Chief Justice, it talks about the language of what the Constitution charges the court with. It says 6.4 is entitled Responsibilities of the Court. The heading of this section is important in that it shows what follows in this section are things that the court is constitutionally compelled to do. In particular, clause about 6.4.3, I'll give the attorney here the Constitution, I'm going to flip to something, attorney to be. The court shall hear any challenges under the SGA election rules. We submitted 2 cases they didn't hear. That's already 2 instances, 2 separate instances, and we have that documented, where they failed to hear our cases. They failed to do their constitutional duty. Now, you have to decide today, what kind of Senate are you going to be? Are you going to be one that's anything goes, and you just don't care because we're getting close to spring break and this is tough, and you're almost done with your year, you want to just give up? Or do you want to be a senator that wakes up in the morning, looks at yourself in the mirror and knows that, you know, it was tough and I hated doing it, but I did the right thing? And that's what I'm going to challenge each and every one in here to do, is to listen inside of your heart, put politics aside, and realize that either we have rules or we don't. And if we have rules, and I hope we all reach that agreement, then we have to do something. Doing nothing, voting this down, tabling it, moving it aside, not fair. It's not. And I guess I don't have anything left to say at this point.
Dean Martis, you're next.
I echo, I think, everyone's sentiment that this is unfortunate. And that we all wish that it hadn't happened. We're dealing with the reality of what has happened. I like to try and make sure, and I say that when well-informed, students make good decisions. You know, and I truly believe that. So I want to try and do some things to make sure that everybody is informed. And then I'm going to suggest something too, because at the end of the day, you all are going to have to take some kind of action, whether no action or some action. Okay. And it's got to be, and it's hard in a legislative body sometimes to be able to do something to move forward. But in the end, if you all pass something tonight, it needs to be something reasonably that can go forward and that you can either continue on with the election or have the election go forward and still have an elected body. I mean, we want a student government president that's voted on by the students. So a couple things. And Preston, I just want to clarify. And Amber, you may be able to respond to this. So I've got a couple of different points.
You go for it.
Maybe. And Alex, and I communicate with any SGA student who wants to talk to me about a question. So that's the executive, that's the Senate, that's Megan, it's Travis, Amber, it's whoever has a question or something that comes up. But I communicate with the court also. And I have been in communication with Alex. And I know that there was the case that was filed, Amber, by you, that went to the court My understanding from an email that I received from Alex is that the court reviewed that electronically, made a determination, and sent a response back to you,